Welcome back, everybody, to the Nerding Grounds podcast. It's a weekly show about video games, old and new. I'm Quinn, and I'm joined by Matt.
That's me.
Yeah. Um, Matt, what have you been getting up to? Been playing anything? Any crazy news? Anything catching your ear?
Not crazy news. I decided to check out finally, because it's on Steam and it was on a little bit of a sale. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yay!
So it's been fun, I
What a
guess,
good choice.
revisiting that blast from the past. Um,
Yeah.
I find, and I don't necessarily understand. I find it to be a little frustrating at times, though, right? Like, I don't know why, but just like screwing up is kind of like, well, I mastered this in the past, right? As a child.
Well, you mastered it when it was, I guess, for lack of a better term, I would say not as optimized as it might be
Yeah,
now. Um, I mean, the PlayStation versions of that game are bare bones compared to where the series got.
right.
And I know for a while, Underground 2 was like the benchmark for the trick system and just the physics and everything. So
Right.
this kind of, I feel like, goes from that and expands and makes it a little more, goes back to like the arcadiness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of just like you keep screwing stuff up or falling a couple of times in a row. I'm
Yeah.
just like, all right, wow, I'm gonna go play something else. Screw you.
I think it requires getting, retraining your brain and getting a feel for the timing and stuff. And
Yeah,
um, the stats really make a difference when you
definitely.
take a character, collect all their stat points, and max them out. That's when I feel like you're playing with a full deck, and then you can customize your tricks and all that stuff. I have put countless hours into that game.
Yeah. I mean, I've still played it a good bit,
Yeah.
despite I just, there's been a couple times where I found myself a little bit more frustrated than I would like for just
Mhm.
a game I should just be chilling
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I also
No,
hate
I understand.
like the more downhill s levels. I never realized I didn't like those that much.
Everybody kind of feels that way because in the first game, because I mean the game does combine two games.
Right.
Um, you have Downhill Jam and the Mall, and there's a I can't remember all of them right now, but yeah,
The
like
mall's
the
okay,
the Mall's
right?
okay. They definitely didn't do it as much. Like that was a first game thing, not so much
Right.
the second game.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, those are in there. I feel like I'm glad they're in there because it's more of a legacy thing. It's like these levels are
Right.
classic, but they are the more annoying ones until you figure them out or
Yeah.
just beat your head against them. Maybe don't do what I did, and this was before they had they'd patched it to where you could redo the career mode with every skater. For some reason, when it launched, it did not have that. You basically went through it once and
Right.
then there was no progression system for that. And so the only option you had was speed running. That was just so toxic for me because that's that loop of you mess up and you have to start the whole thing over, and maybe you've been
Yeah.
doing a really good run and then all of a sudden you completely screw it up. But I for a while was speed running those levels and trying to fully optimize the challenges and like score and everything. So yeah.
I don't think I'll be doing that, but who knows?
No,
We'll see.
I would.
We'll see.
Well, I mean, yeah, they've updated the game a lot, and so there's more things to keep the replay value up.
Right. Uh, Other than that, though, I have been playing a little bit of Diablo 4's in season 2.
Oh, they got you
Um,
back.
well, I'm always I run a podcast about playing video games.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check out the new season of Diablo.
but
Okay.
last we heard, they
Yeah.
you were
Well,
not
yeah,
super happy.
and I wasn't, and I'm still not, right. It's still very much so like the game should have been just much better.
Mm-hmm.
But they have, of course, taken, I won't go too far into detail, but they've definitely taken some steps in the right direction, including like, revamping a lot of the um, legendaries, or especially the game has like a tier up from that, which is epic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what they call it. We'll call it epic or something like that,
Extra legendary.
which are supposed to be like big rare items that I guess impact your gameplay or change things up. And
Yeah.
a lot of them were just trash, and it was just kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
why? Like, I don't. It's it's not good to even wear this or use this. There's no real use case. So
Yeah.
they changed up a lot of those. That's good, and balanced a lot of things between the different classes. So um it it's better. It's better.
Well,
It's still like, I mean, we were talking about a game that should be just like
great.
any game, great when it comes out. This still feels like it needs another year or so in the oven, and it'll be kind of more where you might want it. Probably come around next expansion where you can pay what I'm only going to assume Blizzard at this point is going to, which you heard the Microsoft acquisition went through.
I've been waiting to interject that, especially since
Yeah,
you've brought up an Activision and Blizzard game
yeah,
back to
yeah.
back.
Well, I just had to say it before you, so I could sound like the smart one.
Damn
Uh,
it.
no, I
Damn
think
it.
I think they know.
They have called me the dumb one on our channel.
Really? That's
No.
mean.
Yeah, it would be, but no.
Smart one.
No.
Uh,
I, I I will gladly let you be the smart one if I could be like the pretty one. Like that's an equal trade-off. But
that's fair.
you're pretty too, so.
We can both be pretty and smart.
Yeah. We tilt back and forth like a seesaw.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about the acquisition and what we think that means for the future of
Yeah.
Xbox?
I
Because
just, I'm happy Kodak is out.
yeah, that was a. I don't know if I just assumed that he was too evil to remove, and so it would never happen. But
I mean, he probably just made, on top of his giant sum of money, he probably just made an insane amount of money
right
from,
under 400 million.
yeah. So
So
he's retiring because he doesn't need to
yeah.
work anymore. He can
He's the
sit down
devil,
and,
and he will be rich until he dies as the
yeah,
devil. It really sucks. Like he's caused pain and suffering for so many people,
yeah, he
and he
really
just
has.
gets to go f off into the sunset.
But
um, but them's be the them's be the rules. I don't know.
yeah, them's be the rule.
But
I don't
but regardless,
think so.
him being gone is a positive. Both
I think so.
for both for the employees and just the horrible way that that company has been mismanaged, just in
Especially, it's
general.
just like, everything can't be as much as um companies would like it to be. Not
Yeah.
every game can be a Call of Duty.
Well,
Uh
that's all their eggs.
yeah.
Like their basket right now is Call of Duty. That's what they put everything toward. It just became like this uninspired mess. And then Blizzard kind of did the same thing. They just put all of their resources. I mean, a lot of Blizzard, I think, went to development for Call of
They
Duty,
were
and then
told, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I think it came
sure.
from on higher up, which is, you know, the
You can
Activision
see the downward
studio.
trajectory of Blizzard from that acquisition by Activision.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
You really can. There's almost an immediate turn of
yeah.
how Blizzard just handled their products and their IPs to what it is now.
hmm And personally, like, yeah, I am a little bothered by the idea of I don't like all of this stuff under one roof. It makes me uncomfortable, but that's how our society, our American capitalist society is structured.
Yeah.
Acquisitions. Disney is doing the same thing. Sony does the same thing, even though Sony was the main one pointing fingers and being like, you can't do that. It's a monopoly. Meanwhile, Sony
Yeah.
pushes their
It's
exclusives and has their
Monopoly
studios.
Japan,
Yeah.
you know? I mean,
I mean,
it's kind of the same thing. I
everybody's
feel
doing the
like
same shit.
they're both they're both giants in their
Yeah.
own right. Um, you know, as long as Call of Duty is on PlayStation, which I think they basically told them they would have, they wouldn't have make Call of Duty exclusive, right?
I mean, for now.
So they could for now. So
Yeah.
they would let kind of the merger go through. Then
Yeah.
I don't really see, all things considered, Activision Blizzard is a massive company, right? But
Mhm.
if you look at like the list of their titles, and it's not like you got Call of Duty, right? And then you got the few Blizzard
Yeah.
that are all giants in their own right. Um,
But then you have King, which
well,
is
yeah, that is
just
it's King, yeah,
is
yeah,
just printing money from the mobile market. And
right.
I know that Xbox
Forgot
or
about King.
Microsoft said that the acquisition was very much focused on that. I think they said that to, smooth out some negative opinions, but you can't argue that that is going to be a huge revenue stream. So
Of
I don't
course.
know. I just want workers to be taken care of. I want the unions that have been set up to be
Hey,
protected
and
and defended.
you know what? They were not being taken care of
No.
clearly at all, even a little bit under. I mean, even before,
Yeah.
the merger, right?
Mhm.
At least if they were women, they weren't. Uh, and then
Yeah.
since the merger, I don't think anybody's really been taken care of.
Yeah. No. So from
Sorry,
from what I
the
heard,
Activision
yeah.
King Blizzard merger, of course.
Right, right. And from what I heard, Phil Spencer's stance on the whole matter was that, they're not going to stand in the way of unions and what the employees have done already to unionize. So I think
Yeah.
that's the best you can hope for as of right now. So I'm hoping that the trend continues without some crazy massive layoffs like would have been happening at every studio for the past 10 years.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know enough about Microsoft's track record here for this type of thing to speculate. But
They're not the worst.
yeah, I don't think they are the worst, right? And I think they've given a lot of at least smaller studios autonomy. But
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, the exact opposite from what Activision has done,
yeah,
which is sucking in studios and
yeah,
repurposing them to Call of Duty and ruining passion projects. I mean, look what happened to Vicarious Visions. The reason we don't have Tony Hawk 3 and 4, which, that's the perfect example of like you did everything to stifle variety at your company, and that's why you're doing so poorly.
but they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. You know. Um,
If Microsoft revives Vicarious Visions and gets another Tony Hawk out there, I'll be good.
well, they're gone, but maybe.
I mean, they're there. It's just they were changed into a different studio and not allowed to develop unique projects anymore. And that can always change. Other studios have been revived. Look what happened to Telltale, even though it's really not the same studio.
No, that's
Yeah.
probably a good thing.
Yeah, I'm just glad this is over for the time being. I'm so tired of hearing about this acquisition, merger, shiz, and just I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah,
And I'm
just
glad
wait and see
Kotick
what
is,
happens next. Yeah,
I'm glad, Satan himself is being removed from the company.
yeah, that's the one thing that I can say. When you look at like a giant conglomerate that is Microsoft as a positive, right? As the shining light, uh,
I
it,
know.
compared to Kodak, it's
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's bad. But he's always been the worst.
Okay.
So, I guess jumping over to the Sony part of the playground, they had a little, just a small release this week. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. It's no big deal.
Small. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Um,
Even. Insignificant.
Minuscule. Um, I, needless to say, have been playing this nonstop since Friday morning. Not morning, but Friday. Um, this was probably my most anticipated release of this year, not counting Tears of the Kingdom. But no, this one. Like I love that first one. I love Miles Morales. Both of those
Right.
games are excellent. So yeah, this was going to be a day one purchase for me. And happy to say, I really, really, really love this game. It's very good.
That's good. It's always nice when you're excited about a release
Oh yeah.
and the game is just everything you were expecting it to be.
Yeah, I
Dear
mean,
Lord, I am tired of getting let down.
I know. And there have been a couple letdowns. They weren't, if this was bad, it would have been devastating. I would just been like, oh, no way. Because as far as as superhero games go, like this is for me kind of the top. I love the Arkham series, but it's very uneven and there are some issues. And I don't know, there's a streamlined appeal to how Marvel Spider-Man is structured. The story is fantastic. It's one of my like pretty on par with say something like that would come out of Naughty Dog.
Right.
That first game, and Miles Morales had a really really great story. It's probably my favorite Spider-Man story. And like counting the movies, counting the comics I've read, I just enjoy this one. I'm immersed in this one. I care about the characters. I care about where they're going. All the conclusions from the first game in Miles Morales, I was really happy with, and so very much anticipatory for how they were going to develop it in this one. And really, like the one thing I can say about two is it just takes everything and just expands it, just turns everything up to 11. Combat, traversal, side quest writing. I wouldn't say that it's like groundbreakingly new. The DNA is still very much there. They've
Right.
clearly polished up the environment and New York City, but now instead of it just being the central island of Manhattan, which was already a very big map, they have almost doubled the map by including all of the eastern island of, well, most of it, Brooklyn and Astoria and other islands in New York or other districts in New York
Yeah. Those
that I
places.
can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so it's huge. So you have a very diverse setting of, neighborhoods and other towns and stuff that's not just Manhattan and the skyscrapers and tall buildings of Manhattan.
The stuff that's like always in the games, right?
Right. That was great, but another game in just that
Right.
sandbox would have felt. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's good to, show the other stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, and
Except for
God,
New Jersey. We-
yeah. And all the problems I have with the modern sandbox construction, they just know what they're doing with this. They know how to make it engaging. And I won't say it's a perfect setup. Like there are obviously cracks. If you get down on the street and you really pay close attention to the details, you're going to find shortcuts and you're going to find this. But for the most part, it's one of the most impressive open world games I have ever seen. I mean, the amount of detail, the art direction, lighting, everything, the way that it blends together all of these environments and the way that you travel through them. And I feel like if I was going to point to one thing that is the biggest difference from the first one and from Miles Morales, it is traversal. They've essentially added just more than they ever needed to, you know, put some variety into how you travel around. Now you have, you know, you have your web swinging, obviously, and it's the best it's ever felt in a Spider-Man game. And
Right.
it feels like a naturally progressed version of that web swinging from the first game. They've tightened things up a little bit. They've made it a little easier to change your direction midair. But now they have additional things like web wings to where you can just, in the middle of, no matter what you're doing, you can just open up your
Uh,
web wings and start gliding, and it feels good. I mean, it's the turning radius is really sharp. You don't feel like you're just crashing into stuff when you're not meaning to. It doesn't feel janky or awkward. It's natural. So you'll go from that and you'll go right back into swinging, or you'll go into like you're launching off of specific points, and then there's these wind tunnels that are placed all throughout the city that will give you like speed boosts. And I mean, you're just traveling at an insane level of efficiency in this game.
right.
I don't even think fast travel is something I'm going to use that much. Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I think as it should. Yeah. Spider-Man's just at least there should be really good web swinging. But yeah, the I think the addition I haven't played the series as but I think the addition of the glide suit Spider-Man thing that's pretty cool.
It's awesome. I mean, sometimes it's like I was a little worried about it taking over and making the swinging obsolete, but it really doesn't, because
Right.
you can lose
I
altitude
mean, yeah,
or
eventually you get
yeah.
down to a height where you got to start swinging, right?
Yeah, and they implement a lot of tricks to for your swinging to give you give you more speed and height to where doing that again,
Yeah.
works. The combat still feels really good. It's changed in the first one. You you basically had a gadget wheel of like 8 or 10 different web-based gadgets that Peter has.
Right.
And you do this thing where essentially you held the trigger and it went into slow-mo. You'd select the gadget and then you'd start using it. And it's a little weird at first, but you get used to it and it becomes second nature. Now everything is just hotkey, like R1 and this. And but I guess that the drawback from that, if you can call it that, is you can have less gadgets equipped at once.
Right.
Instead of just having like everything available in this radial menu, you have R1 and triangle and all the face button and the 4 face buttons.
Yeah.
But now you also have super attacks on L. And for Peter, those abilities are like like the spider legs thing that he has where
I
yeah. So it's a lot of that stuff where you can do like a series of strikes, or you can, launch yourself with those. And those are interesting. So I call it a trade-off, but it seems like a natural progression for that. And there's so much more gadget and skill wise that you can do that I think it will turn into more of a build situation than it
right.
will like a Batman, where it's just like everybody's going to have the same style. Like you're going to use all these gadgets in the same way.
Yeah.
This seems a lot more adjustable, you know.
Which like Batman Combat, I feel like I mean it's definitely good. Like it was fun, but it gets stale
It does. Yeah.
relatively quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, is this the type of game that kind of mixes things up, or is progression and unlocks, I guess spaced out well enough to where it doesn't really get stale like that? All games I think maybe get stale eventually, but
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I feel I feel like I engaged more with this combat system, and that was from the first game because instead of it being, like Batman is essentially counters, and you're gonna you're gonna basically do a beat 'em up, and then you're gonna counter. This is more improvisational with things like the environment and different types of enemies and different types of gadgets, and so you can jump off of walls or zip to points and air juggle enemies and there's no real counter. I mean, there's a parry in this game that there wasn't in the first one, but a lot of it's dodging and improvising what you want to do next. And it feels like you can approach combat in a multitude of ways versus, that Assassin's Creed-esque style, which I think for Batman is fun, is great. For
Right.
something like Spider-Man, you want to emphasize that agility and
Yeah.
just, yeah, the wacky nature of how he fights. And they've nailed that since the first one, and it's still awesome here. And the fact that you have, I didn't mention that up front, but everybody knows this Spider-Man game is unique that it takes on Peter and Miles. And you very seamlessly jump back and forth between those two characters. And neither one, they do a really good job. Neither one of them feels like the main character. They
Right.
really are straight up sharing the stage. And so far, I'm probably like 10 hours in, maybe. So far, it's balanced very well. Um, you know,
Do both of them like play differently enough, or
so
I mean they're both
there
Spider-Man, but
a lot of their difference comes from animations. Um, and I say that because it's really interesting. Miles, and I noticed this in Miles Morales, he feels different just based on the way he moves. He feels a little more speedy, but
right.
like his attacks are really powerful. Like because he has what they call venom power, which is like an electricity that he discovered in his
Yeah.
game. And so in this one, the same thing. Instead of like those legs that Peter has, Miles has like his electricity powers. But they both share the same gadgets in this one. So they do feel
Mm,
very similar, but
different
you know,
flavors of the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah. And again, like they do such a good job at those tiny details of like how Miles looks when he swings versus how Peter looks when he swings and how they move when they're fighting. It's just different enough to keep it to keep that personality with both of them. Yeah. Um, and again, I feel like I've like just scratched the surface of this game because there's a lot, I'm without giving anything away, the main villain that's presented early on is this Craven is Craven the Hunter,
Okay. Yeah.
who's like arrived at New York City because it's essentially a playground of villains and heroes that he gets to hunt. And I feel like he's going to be more of a red herring, like a third way through the game he's going to be defeated and it's going to pave the way for like the real crux of the story. And
Typical.
obviously the symbiote suit and everything going on with that.
Right.
I really don't want to go into too many details because I think that story is very engaging with how the symbiote suit is introduced because I have seen it at this stage. And I'm just starting to see how it's affecting where the story is going. And I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out because it's different from, we talked about this back in the PlayStation showcase when they gave all that information, but I do think they're approaching it in a unique way, and that gives me hope that they're going to handle it well. And Peter and Miles' relationship, plus Peter and MJ's relationship, plus Peter's relationship with another character, and then Miles's relationship with his friend and his mother and his love interest. Like, there's so many things going on, and each of these characters has their own lives that they're
Yep.
tending to, but they're really good. They've become really good friends, and you can see how those lives are intersecting with each other. And so it just feels like they took a lot of time to build that foundation, and they're working with that foundation very well in this one.
So we're getting like our own Spideyverse going on, and
It's really good.
yeah,
It's I'm like so
in the
into it.
in series, yeah. But that's you know that's very good.
Yeah, it's exactly what I wanted out of the second game back in 2018. When I beat that one, I was like, oh, I can't wait to see where this goes, especially with Miles and how that's all working out. And they they've always done a really good job at taking this story we've heard 1,000 times and showing it from an interesting angle, like Peter's possible job prospect and working with this big environmentalist, uh, you know, multi-million dollar foundation.
That's the bad guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, Norman Osborn is definitely in charge of it, so
Oh, there you go.
I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with Norman Osborn either. It's like I don't know any and I like that. I like this fresh look at what's coming. You still need to play the first one.
I know. That's what I'm thinking. Like while you're playing, it's like, God, I really need to play the first one.
I mean, yeah, they're all good, and I mean, I don't think you can skip. This is definitely not one. I don't think you should play two without
Without
experiencing
playing the
both
other
of
one.
both of the other ones.
Oh, excuse me.
I have some nitpicks. I know that's my catchphrase.
Yeah. No, I like nitpicks. Nitpicks are fun. Nitpick away. Rip it
um,
to shreds.
oh my god,
Tear it a new one.
I plan to.
Tell me how garbage this game is.
Well, everything I just said, it was a lie. No, it's
Go
a
on.
lot. These are very minor because I know there's people online that are really focusing in on the visual fidelity of everything. And there's some people, just edge lords that are like, this is totally a scam. Like this game doesn't even look as good as the 2018 one. It's just not true. Like
Right. I don't know. People.
there are some things, like there's obviously some details that, you know, don't seem as sharp as they did in the other one. But my reaction to that was this game is nearly twice the size of the other one. And all of that stuff is explorable, and not just, like all this, there's so much stuff that was off limits in the first game is now accessible.
Right.
Obviously, that's going to require some optimization in other areas, and maybe
Yeah.
rendering a trash can full of fast food is not the most important
That's
thing.
yeah. That's gonna get cut. And I
But
mean, that's what it sounds like. That is right there. Right. You
yeah,
have a bigger game. You have to cut corners somewhere else so the game actually runs.
or you just have to optimize it to where the energy is going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like when you're flying through the city and you're using your wingsuit and you're going, you know, way faster than you ever did in the first game. Again, maybe they don't need to render as many people on the ground as they did before. And, maybe this building isn't as sharp as it was in the last game. But like, if you're going to sit there and one to one compare each, like, that's just not fair. And if you play this game for 10 minutes and you say they put less effort into it, you're crazy. It does not feel like that at all. It feels like they turn the dial up to 11 on everything.
Right.
That being said, my nitpicks, I've been experiencing some really, really weird glitches. And I don't normally complain about that, but these were like I had to reload glitches. The first really big one happened when I was just fighting. I saw that the cutscene had lagged back a little bit. And then when it started, it was like it introduced a new mechanic, and it sent me into this like permanent slow motion that I could not get out of. And
Really.
I was sitting there fighting, and it was completely slow motion. I was just like, is this going to
Okay.
end? And I could still, and I just kept playing and it kept going. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm stuck in slow motion. I need to reload. Another time, I could not control the camera anymore after like a phone call. And I had to reload because I couldn't get through a story progression thing that I needed to get through because the camera was just unavailable.
Yeah.
Um, there's some audio sync issues where like dialogue will just continue over another cutscene, and
I hate stuff like
yeah,
that because it completely destroys the
yeah.
immersion.
And I don't
Ruins
know, like
cutscenes.
it does. And as far as like cutscene quality, the cutscenes are great. Um, but the not the kind of point 0.5 cutscenes, you know, when you're still like totally in game and playable and you're walking around and they're doing like
Right.
a lot of those feel really wooden. Um, like the characters will say something. One example is Peter's walking around this foundation thing that I was talking about earlier with another character, and and the guy's like, "Oh, Peter, you have your badge?" He's like, 1 second." Uh-oh. He's like, "Don't tell me you lost it." He's like, "Nope, false alarm. It's right here." The character model did not move. He did, and I knew where the badge was. It was in his back pocket. I saw him
Right.
put it in his back pocket, and so I thought the character model will reach and go, "Nope, I got it here," and he's just walking totally straight. He's like, "Wait, uh-oh, what? No, never mind. False alarm. Have it right here." And it's like,
Yeah.
it
So
was.
things you would expect from like PlayStation 2 era gaming, right?
I wouldn't.
PlayStation 3 era,
I wouldn't go that far, but I don't remember that being the case in the 2018 one, and maybe I'm just not remembering it wrong. Remembering it correctly. And even if that's the case, again, I'm okay with it. It's not. Sometimes it's just a little like because I've seen the work they put into other big story stuff, like when you take a bike ride with your friend at some point. It's a totally story driven scene, but it's interesting the way that it's framed and it's very well done. So I don't know. Maybe there's some unevenness there. Maybe it's just because certain things are in engine, or it's all in engine, but certain things are like playable cutscenes, and maybe that's where it gets a little awkward.
yeah.
It's not a big deal, but like I said, nitpicks.
Yeah.
It definitely threw me off.
No, I mean again that also I think just breaks the immersion, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
But at the same time, it does take development time and money to, do a animation that will pull something out of Spider-Man's back pocket that you would never
Right.
use anywhere else through the game because I don't think Spider-Man has back pockets when he's
Well,
Spider-Man.
this was Peter Parker, but
I know.
yeah.
I'm saying when you're wearing the suit, you know.
Yeah, yeah, there's some probably some uh, and maybe this
Weird
is
that
just
they have an in-game cutscene where he's not an in-game with like an
a walk
in-game
it's walk and
when
talks can
when you're
be yeah.
PR as opposed to just a normal cutscene.
Right. Well, and they do that a lot when they'll get you on the ground and they'll get you out of the spider suit and then you will do a walk and talk and you'll explore like a small environment. And a lot of it is the best way I can describe it, it's stuff that you'd want to skip on a subsequent playthrough. You know, like the first time it's fine because you're looking around and like, oh wow, look at all this, look at all the detail they put into this. Like,
Yeah,
look at this lady saving bees, and she's showing us all her tech. This is neat. If I was playing it again, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to walk through all this
yeah,
again. But it's great the first time around. Um, yeah, that walk and talk stuff can I can see the seams sometimes. And I
right.
again I just don't remember that being the case in the previous games, but rose colored glasses, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or they fixed it over I don't know if you played that one like immediately
I
or
bought
not.
that PlayStation on release and I played it so immediately. But yes, I I played it twice, so I could just be remembering the second run of the 2018 Spider-Man. And I
Yeah,
played the remastered version, which they put work into. So, yeah. And Miles Morales is a much smaller game, So I could be remembering the level of detail for Miles Morales. That may not
Could
be,
be.
you know, chugging along as much. The other thing I really wanted to talk about were the side quests. Now, these are usually, from a mechanics point, they're simple puzzles. They're, like matching this to that or searching the environment, Witcher style, whatever. Nothing that's going to blow you away. But man, the writing in these side quests. I've only done a handful, but they've been really great. One in particular involved finding someone's grandpa who's just like walking off, and you wind up finding him by a lake, and you sit down and you have this conversation with him about how he's missing his wife, and this is where he proposed, and he loves his granddaughter, and this and that. It's such a raw conversation, and this particular one, I believe you could have played with either Spider-Man. And so the one I wound up going with, Miles, was like
Yeah.
perfect. It fit so well. He was young. This guy was much older. They were both African American, and that like somehow changed the like I want to see this played with both, and I want to see if they converse differently. Because I feel like they would. I feel like Peter would have different lines than Miles would, and it lined up
Yeah.
in a way that was so touching. And I was just like, that was such a great experience for just a throw. Like this didn't have to be that thought
Right.
out.
Didn't have to be anything.
Yeah, and that's a level of detail that I've always found super impressive with these games and Insomniac in general.
And I think, I mean, we've definitely talked about our takes on side quests in this podcast, but
Oh yeah.
any game that really takes the time to have some more thought out side quest storylines is just like an instant positive in my mind.
It pushes your
It does
hunger for
so
exploration.
much. Yeah. Yeah. It does so much for the game
Hmm.
rather than just have like these bland little thing. Like, if you want to do fetch quests, then why even put them? I get they have their point for
Yeah.
some things. For certain games, they have their point. But if you're just putting those in to just, I guess, bloat the content of your game, then just take them out. You
And
know?
that's what is so common these days,
Yeah,
especially when you look at,
that is
anything Ubisoft puts out.
yeah.
You're you're basically
Where
going to run into that bloat.
and then you have games like this or The Witcher where you really want to do these side quests because they're just as interesting as what's going on in the main story.
Yeah, and not only am I never go I mean, I platinumed the first game. I platinumed Miles Morales. They're on the scale easy to platinum. I mean, for like they take time and they take effort, but anyone can do it. And
Right.
it's just a matter of checking the boxes, and it's not an obnoxious amount of objectives to check to get that
which
platinum.
which a lot of games are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
it's like bloat at that point,
yeah, yeah. But 100% I am doing every side quest. And not only am I going to hunt down every side quest, I'm going to consider which character I want to be a part of that side quest based on the context, because it actually has it shifts the way that plays out, and that's just really cool. I mean, how many games can you think of that balance two main characters that well? Where, I mean, you can switch at any time that you want, and you want to because both of I mean, yeah, some people might want to play Miles Morales more, and I totally understand that. Some people might want to play Peter more. I understand that. I'm in the middle where I I want to play with both of them, and I'm not really pulled in one direction more than the other. And so if I've been playing too long with one, I'll kind of just swap over and do that a little bit. And there's things that canonically I feel like Peter or Miles belongs to. And so I'll I'll let them follow that quest line because it makes more sense to me in like my head canon. And that's a level of immersion that I want from a video game. Like I want to
Yeah.
care that much about the in-universe events and progression.
I find it to be, I guess, odd that it isn't like, um, Miles has his own stuff, and then Peter Parker has his own stuff, and instead it seems like you can. And I'm sure
Well,
there are
yeah.
those parts, right? But I'm
Yeah.
surprised when you said you swapped. I was actually surprised to hear that you could just swap at free will to do the
Well,
side quest.
and for the main missions, that's not that way.
Right.
You'll get to a mission and it'll say like switching to Miles because, that's dedicated to, he's the character for that mission and it makes
Right.
sense in universe. But yeah, like with side quests, there's this sense that even since Miles Morales, Miles has become more comfortable as Spider-Man and they've both become more comfortable working as a team. And
Yeah.
there's that sense that Miles has gathered a lot of this New York City institutional knowledge from working under Peter for so long. And now, so they really are like partners in this thing
Yeah.
to the point where like you go do a side quest or a fight, and sometimes the other one just shows up and fights with you. And it'd be
Nice.
like, all right, later. And they high five and they,
Mhm.
they peace out. And it's just like, man, that's so cool. Cause you really do
That's
get this,
cool.
this sense that you're working as a spider team. And, you'll get on your little radio communicators and it's no longer just like Peter talking to various people that don't know his identity and so he's always just like yeah I'm busy right now but I will swing by after work and it's like there's this team of people that know their identities. Like you have Miles's best friend who knows his identity and figured out Peter's identity. You have Mary Jane who knows both of their identities, and they all kind of have this circle of communication. And so it has this like team atmosphere going on.
Nice.
Yeah. So very immersive experience. I was surprised by that.
Yeah. Well, one of
Um,
these days I'll play the first one and Miles Morales, and then maybe one of these days I'll get that
get,
nice PS5.
get a PS5.
Yeah.
Christmas is around the corner.
It sure is.
Yep, 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 yep.
Winky blinky to any family and or girlfriends listening to this podcast.
How many girlfriends do you have?
Just the one.
Matthew, you dog.
Come on, don't say that. Don't say that. You're gonna get me in trouble.
Now, I was about to say, if you did have multiple girlfriends and they all went in for the same present, that's a level of, I don't know how you did that. It's like,
I don't
please,
know.
no.
Well, that's why I just asked for Amazon gift cards.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. You
These
could pull
days,
it all together.
yeah. I think that's pretty much all I want to say about Spider-Man 2 for now. In our podcast 2 weeks from now, I bet you I will have beaten it and I'll have a lot more to say. Or not say because I don't want to really spoil it, especially
Yeah.
for you if you're going to play it eventually. But yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
good game. If you like Spider-Man or if you just remotely like superhero games or good games or sandbox games, this is one of the best for
Or
sure.
just really bored.
Yeah. Which is what I have been
Yeah,
in the
I know. It's such a law. It always is. I know it always is, but we came from like such a big like, wow,
rush.
there's so many games coming out that we want to play. And
Right.
at least one of them was a big disappointment. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the other ones were kind of short because of
Right. Right. Because they were
as they
just
should have been.
more direct experiences. Things like Armored Core was just,
Yeah.
you play through it and, that game kind of kicked our ass at the end. So
Yeah.
boo.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've just been kind of going through different games like Resident Evils and I played Need for Speed Heat for like a couple days just because it was $5 and I'm like, I'll drive some cars for a bit. Sure.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. And it was pretty fun.
But now we play the waiting game to the
Yeah.
next big thing.
Um, Super Mario Wonder did come out. That's likely going to be a Christmas wish list item for me. It looks
What is
very
that?
good. Super Mario Wonder. We talked about it during the Luigi's Mansion retrospective. The 2D, the
I
new
don't pay
2D Mario,
attention when we're talking.
the new 2D Mario that just came out.
I come in and out.
It actually released the same day as, or if not like 2 days apart from Spider-Man. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah. But it looks very good. Looks like they
It
really shook up the 2D Mario formula for this one.
I'm gonna assume that I'm forgetting about a few releases here, but I always feel like there is a lot of like big things that of course come out around this time of the year, especially
Hmm.
around Christmas time. But I can't think, you know, normally there is like a almost like a must-haves
Yeah.
uh for Christmas. Not a must. I really, you know, really want for Christmas
Hmm.
video game wise, but so far there's not really anything. I
Well,
don't
I
have really.
think I think a lot of people like to push back to October because it gives them the time to optimize throughout the year. And, it's really easy to say this game is coming out in 2024. And a lot of people push for like March, but then a lot of people are just like, let's give ourselves most of 2024.
Wasn't there
Um,
something coming out like today?
I guess it's a good time to do what's coming out because we
Yeah, I guess I'm fine.
we typically do that.
It's a sheer
October
curiosity here
video game releases.
for me. I need to know. No, it's what about
Sonic Superstars came out on the 17th. That was one. And
I
I've
ain't gonna
heard
check anymore.
I've heard mixed things.
As for every Sonic game that has come out for the past 15 years.
Yeah, this one's a little bit of a bummer though, because it was a 2D Sonic game and it looked like a fresh perspective for Sonic. Um,
It's not. Never is.
yeah, so I don't know. If you're a big Sonic fan,
Or
maybe
it's
like
too much.
right, right. Super Mario Bros. Wonder came out on the 20th, along with Marvel Spider-Man 2. The Metal Gear Solid Collection #1 is coming out on the 24th.
It's like
Um,
I hate the idea of supporting Konami and buying that game after everything with Hideo Kojima, and
yeah,
I don't know. But I do really want that, and I basically own every other copy imaginable
I know.
for Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3. So
If
I,
it wasn't, if it, I was disappointed by it. One, because it doesn't look like they put a lot of work into it. It really just looks like a straight up port. To the point where somebody said, and this will likely be patched, somebody said that they played the like preview version and the map for Metal Gear Solid 1, a PlayStation game, took 10 seconds to open.
really,
Yeah, like every time, like repeatedly. They were like 10 seconds to open a map on a PlayStation 1 game that I can play on my Odin handheld right now at perfect performance.
right.
I could even play Twin Snakes on that at perfect performance, and that's a little more valuable to me than this. Um, Yeah, and just not a lot of the stuff that was extra that looked cool was like the art book and some of the background stuff. I liked that game series enough to be into that.
Yeah, I'm
But
saying.
I don't know. um,
Well, yeah, I mean, that obviously shouldn't really change anything, but
yeah, and then they're also withholding, I guess, 4 and 5 for like a. It's there's clearly going to be a collection volume too.
right, of
I don't know. I might get this one day if it goes on sale for like $20, but
course, of
for
course.
right
I'd like
now,
to play 4. 4 was so good,
that's my
and it's
thing. That's the
I've
one I
played
want to
it
play right now.
the least, you
I
know?
I beat it twice.
I quote it probably like once a month, and I only played it, yeah, like once.
Metal Gear. That's all of them.
Yeah, that's all of them.
No, the game's great. I mean that movie's great.
Yeah,
No,
it
honestly though,
is.
the gameplay that game does have is incredible.
Yeah. I would like to see, I guess, kind of how it lives up, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
least to my mind of how the game is.
Yeah,
I don't. It was everything about as ridiculous as every Metal Gear is, but just
that is
blown out of
true.
proportion, and that's a good thing.
And super messed up.
Oh yeah,
Just like dark.
it is dark.
All right. On October 27th, we get Alan Wake
I
2.
just love Raiden.
I love Raiden 2.
He was so fucking cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Alan Wake 2, October 22nd, which actually looks really good. I don't think I'll be playing it on launch, considering it's in 5 days, and I've already expended my October budget. Um, El Paso Elsewhere is basically a spiritual successor to the old school Max Payne's with a little more of an irreverent twist. Like it's kind of both appreciating Max Payne and sending it up at the same time by
Right.
being like a little more goofy, which I
I,
appreciate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably should be.
Yeah.
Do some
Oh,
bullets on them.
I just remembered, and this has nothing to do with October releases, but I did play a demo this week of Crime Scene Cleaner, and I like wish listed it right after. It's really good. It's basically one of those maintenance games like Power Wash Simulator or
Yeah.
Viscera Cleanup Detail, but you're showing up to a murder scene, like someone has called you to be like a fixer. And that angle is the first time I've found this type of game interesting, because those other ones like I can never get engaged. This one I was totally into because there was a little bit of a mystery of like how, like, what was the scene here, what happened,
Yeah.
while you're cleaning up bodies and blood and bullet casings and putting furniture back the way it's supposed to be so the cops don't know. So
Ooh,
that's cool.
that's cool.
Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty is on the 26th, which, oh no, that was September.
Yeah.
That's been
Earlier
out.
that era, yeah, that's been it.
Yeah, that's been out. But that is definitely like my post Spider-Man game that I'm gonna be playing in November. So,
Right. That is a big
because
one.
I'm really looking to get back into Cyberpunk. Yeah, those are the main
Hey,
releases in October.
no, it's Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, that one.
Did you say that?
Yeah,
What was that date?
20,
Told you I go in and out.
27.
AGD folks. I'm not trying to be rude. It's just yeah.
You piece of Matt listened to me talk about Spider-Man for a full half hour. That's the best you can ask for.
Yeah,
No, Alan,
meanwhile in my brain I was like Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, Spider. That's a lie. You were singing Spider Pig, weren't you?
Yeah, no, that definitely.
That's whatever a Spider Pig does.
Spider-Pig. But
But you're good to bring that one back up because I'm really looking forward to that game. And I've heard good things from some of the journalistic previews.
yeah,
And I don't really like Alan Wake 1 that much. I find the shooting to kind of it really outstays its welcome.
yeah.
But this is more of a survival horror, and that is my jam.
Well, and I think right, it was more about the story element and I guess the gameplay was just more of a driver, but kind of like Control. Um,
Yeah. But
because
Control's
their
gameplay is
instruments,
awesome.
yeah, just because it's like it's a fun loop to it.
Psychic powers are an easy way to a fun
Yeah,
game. Always have been.
you're not wrong. You
If
really
I
are
can
not wrong.
if I can pick up things with my mind and throw them, I'm going to be invested in your game for like all the way to the end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yet so many Star Wars games are like mid.
They never figured that one out. I'll even say that they don't the Jedi series could be so much more of that than it is. Like it's
Yeah,
good, and the lightsaber combat makes up for it. But oh my god, they could really go buck wild with the Force powers, and they don't. You
yeah.
know?
Even though I'll give it to them if you look at the Star Wars series, I think there is a lot of weight always to the force powers.
Hmm.
Feeling that it's not easy to move even a small object.
Yeah,
Uh,
being able to just like
yeah,
that always feels good.
yeah, it does. But
Yeah.
anyway, we digress. Floating around and throwing shit like crazy.
At
Now
the
that's
speed
fun.
of sound,
Yeah,
got places to go.
I think I'm very excited about it. Let's hopefully I don't get too scared playing it. We'll see.
Did you play 4? Resident Evil
Resident Evil
4?
the remake? No, not yet.
Oh, you gotta play that.
I know.
That is some good stuff. I played I beat the Ada Wong thing, which I know I gave my early impressions of that a few weeks ago.
Right.
That's good. That is a so much more game than I expected from a DLC episode. And I wouldn't even call it an episode. It's just a campaign. It's
Yeah.
not quite as long as Leon's, but it's not super short. Like it's probably 6 hours, I think. Um, which is as long as Resident Evil 3 when you think about it. And she's got a whole arsenal of weapons. It's just a little streamlined, but it was good. So there's a lot of that game.
Yeah. I do need to play it, right? I don't know. It's like I've played through the game a billion times. I don't know.
But it's
I don't
different
know. I haven't played
enough.
it. Yeah.
Like
Plus,
it, it
it's been years.
yeah, you haven't like PlayStation 2 was the last time I think you played
But I'm really
4.
not looking forward to fighting those goddamn the white chicky things. No.
Oh,
I
with
tell
the
you,
the
yeah.
things that you have to use the scope for?
Yeah. Nope.
Oh.
Don't really want to do it in with modern graphics at all.
Oh, well, if it makes you feel any better, it's way worse now.
Yeah, I know.
Now you
You don't
have
do it
to.
in like an industrial warehouse, do you? Because if you do, I'm done.
It's pretty similar with the testing facility, and you have to, but now they throw you in pitch dark that you have to like manage, and you have to like turn on lights for this wing and then turn on lights for that wing. And it's and now they have more moves that they can use. And at one
I'm
point you
getting
go
anxiety as you speak. I
at
hope
one
you
point
know that. Like I like literally that. I think that's really what it is, right? It's modern games have gotten really good with psychology,
oh yeah.
and they make you do things that um and it intensifies your anxiety, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I start to like
Skip
not
the
feel too good.
I know you 8 really took it out of you at the Heisenberg factory.
Yeah. And I think it's just okay. The sheer fact a helicopter face will come out at you. You're like I think knowing when it comes out is even worse.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for
then there's
sure.
little things like the big hulking guys and needing to get them to uh go next to the little electrocution thing so you can hit it to electrocute them and then target
I
their weak points, all that good stuff. I don't know.
I mean, one, my sensibility is broken. I'm my brain is messed up. So I just whatever. I go for spooky stuff. But I also beat those games over and over again to where they don't affect me anymore.
Right.
And I play things like mercenary mode where I'm fighting like 5 times the
Yeah.
number of those enemies and it just kind of desensitizes you, I guess. But the first time, like when I did that mansion with the baby in 8, the first time I was just like, no, no, no. Sierra,
Yeah.
can you come in here? Can you just
That is honestly awful. It
can
is
you
just
find all the lamps in the
it's really
house?
bad. If anybody's ever seen that stuff but hasn't played it, it's just as bad as you think it is
A lot
when
of people
you
will
are.
watch a playthrough because of that, because they shut down when they have to do it themselves. And I get that. I don't like playing things like Outlast
Yeah.
where all you do is run away. I need the ability to fight back, or
Yeah.
I guess it's not fun, but
I don't know. I I still enjoy that stuff. It's just
yeah.
I don't know. It's become it was I felt like it was easier. And there's a lot of like pretty scary ass games that I've gotten through.
Yeah. I mean, Dead Space.
Yeah. And
Dead
even
Space
Resident Evil
gets me
7.
more. Yeah, Resident Evil 7 is that one still. There's a lot of discomfort in that game.
Yeah.
He's not eating it, Jack.
We'll see. We'll play it. Let's see how Alan Wake 2 is. You know, I'm pretty invested in the universe at this point that I really just want to see more of it.
I know. Yeah, the interconnectivity is quite interesting. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for today. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. Please go check out some of the rest of our content on the channel. We're releasing retrospective episodes every other week. Right now, we're going back and forth podcast retrospective. And just in case you don't know, that is not a podcast, the retrospective. That is a gameplay on the spot playthrough / clips show. So not a podcast. Just check it out. Just so people are clear on that. Because the first couple episodes we were doing the podcast, but then we repurposed and
changed the format,
relaunched it, all that stuff. Making a YouTube channel is hard.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do much. I just show up. But
so I think next week we are going to be releasing the Rondo of Blood episode for pre-Halloween. So check in on that. And if you have any ideas for games you can play in the future, if you have any questions, send them into thenerdinggrounds@gmail.com.
Got a favorite game as a child? We'll play it.
We will. Shamelessly.
And tell you how awful it was.
Exactly. Well, have yourselves a great week and weekend. Be kind to one another. Play Spider-Man 2. Bye-bye.
Bye.